everyone, and good morning, fellow Jasiri ladies. You are looking splendid this morning, by the way. We're in a good mood, and yes, so welcome once again to your favorite show right here on News Central. Now it's time for Jasiri, your go-to show for bold and insightful conversations. Today, we're unpacking a new law that touches all of us, and that's the Nigerian Insurance Industry Reform Act 2025, NIIRA. Now, this was signed this August by President Tinubu, and it replaces outdated insurance laws with one modern framework designed to strengthen our financial system, to protect citizens, and also support Nigeria's $1 trillion economy vision. Now, from compulsory building and agricultural insurance to faster claims, stricter licensing, and cross-border motor coverage, this reform reshapes how Nigerians think about safety and accountability, and we will definitely get into all of that in a bit. But first,
this is very interesting. A viral video is making the rounds online. A police officer is seen counting a fat wad of cash in a police truck with the inscription Nigerian Police Force Area Commander Saba, parked by the roadside. Trust Nigerians to roll in with the comments, and they did not fail. Many Nigerians have alleged that it was money extorted from citizens and the outrage was instant. Well, the police command in Delta State has moved quickly to respond to the claims. The PPRO SP Bright Edafe posted on X, and I would quote what he said. The policeman in the embarrassing video has been identified and arrested. They appeared before the CP today. The 4 personnel, 2 of them who are senior officers, have been queried, while the 2 inspectors have been detained and are awaiting an orderly room trial. End of quote. But here is the bigger question. In a country where confidence in law enforcement is already fragile, does this swift response show a system trying to redeem itself, or has the image of an officer simply counting cash in official uniform and vehicle already done damage that discipline cannot erase? Well, let's hear Nigerians. Let's know what they have to say. You know they're going to definitely give you their 2 kobo on this particular one.
Daniel Rega says, and the worst part of it all is how such officers harass motorists to get these 100 naira, 200 nairas. From assaults to verbal abuse. Now, who do you report to? If the officers are identified, we only read of their supposed suspension in / on the news. But no serious example is set because corruption starts from the top. And these are the people we expect to serve during the election season. God help us in this country. It's a very Nigerian thing to say. This video of Delta police officers counting cash is a clear sign of ongoing corruption within the force. Despite repeated promises of reform, it's disappointing that such behavior persists, especially when public trust in the police is already at an all-time low. The lack of accountability is alarming, and it is time for real action, not just words. Truth be told, until there is genuine reform and consequences, these incidents will continue.
They make daily money by blocking roads under the guise of stop and search instead of working towards better salaries and pensions. But after retirement, when the daily money stops and there's no source of income, they suddenly start ranting. How do you prove that the money was extorted from the motorists? Good question. Did anyone complain against them? Don't you think some of these many things are weakening the men and killing the morale of the force men? CP has power to detain even the SPOs. Why not do that?
Honestly, I didn't see anything wrong in that video. Everyone goes out every day to look for the daily bread for the family and everyone around them. The guy that posted the video too should be arrested if I was a CP.
I mean, Police NG cannot count their money again. What are you questioning them for? Counting their money? Was there any video about them forcefully taking it from a Nigerian? Or maybe this is just a stunt to show us you are overworking. Please, let's stop killing the morale of our police officers. If we see them doing anything bad, I am up for the full weight of the law going after them. not a simple video of one policeman counting money, then they are paraded.
Are we done?
Yes, we are. Now we can begin.
Yeah, but honestly, I would toe some lines. If they did see the police officer counting money, they need to make investigations. But if they are alluding to the fact that they are being suspended, maybe they have done some kind of investigation for them to be able to suspend them.
No, but you know, Nigerians, we react first before we start asking.
No, I'm not even talking about what Nigerians
I'm talking
are saying.
about what the police themselves are doing. We react first before we start asking questions.
Before you suspend them, you would have asked questions. Are they not supposed to investigate? So you can't just arraign them. They'll ask, okay, what's the money for? Maybe their investigation did bring out some shady business. They'll say, oh, you'll be suspended. Because if the man said, I'm paying my children's school fees, I just went to the bank to collect the money, I sat in the car to count and be sure that I got the right amount. I doubt if they would just suspend someone for that. Or maybe
Nigerians are just, no, land first.
Maybe they have investigated and they found something out, because I want to believe that. I doubt if anybody can just arrest someone just for counting money in a police vehicle. It
doesn't make any sense
to me. If there was an extortion video, because I have seen extortion videos. Recently, somebody ran into his house and said the police officers demanded money from him, took his car because he didn't pay them 1 million naira for some permits.
I'm going to toe this line that this last point you've made, and say that Nigerians see, because of these kinds of behaviors, whether it's a few bad apples that spoil the entire bunch, it's left to be said. But I think Nigerians are tired of the extortions, directly or indirectly, by police officers. And Nigerians you cannot put police and money in the same sentence and expect that some shady business didn't go down because of the way the police has comported themselves. Everybody has a story to tell about police officers. Whether it's police officers, whether it's drivers telling you that, okay, when you order a ride, they tell you off the cuff, oh, can you just increase this money? It's not, but you accepted it. So it's an endemic thing. I hear you, Lolo, that they probably have made investigations. I think, but Nigerians are just happy that, finally, don't catch them with money for hand. And you are counting that kind of money. Guy, if you went to the bank, we would have seen that you are removing the.
If you not give that, we might have removed it. I'm just playing devil's advocate. So I have to support these men in uniform.
But it's so, I think it's so easy to just jump to conclusions about the matter. And I think also reacting so swiftly is because people
went viral again.
Went viral. But people also generally expect, that police are money. If you put the two together, it means like extortion don't happen. So I think it's again one of those knee-jerk reactions. But it's what's interesting to me is that these things come up and we never really get to hear the end of it. We never really get to hear what actually happened. What's the real story. And what's the final outcome of these things?
Because when you said we never really get to hear the end of it, the whole idea, parading them and all that, is meant to serve as deterrent to others. But I'm telling you, they will not learn, because we talk about reforms. What is the police actually doing to, for welfare when it comes to reforming the Nigerian police? Because I know so many people who are in service, in police service, and most times their salaries come in late. They're not even paid as well as they should be. And then you have most of them who prefer the recruits. They prefer going, standing in front of, being on checkpoints than even, going to fight or, being in the office, because that is where they make the bulk of their money. Exactly. And to help their family. And most of them have so many children. They have families, they have mouths to feed.
I hear you, and I hear you loudly. But that behavior, whether they're paying, I don't think there's any amount of money that can be paid to police officers that will make them sit with their legs closed. In the sense that, without going... I don't see that. Content creator Zeke Saloma came out to lament. He said it's frustrating. I'm going to sell my vehicle, not because I don't like my vehicle anymore, but anywhere he goes, there's checkpoints every 2-3 minutes. And then there's something, you're expected to part with something. And you're taken to the police station, and they make a show of it. Okay, you recognize.
They don't make any show of anything.
They take you to a corner, and they still expect.
I was harassed this year Even though the CP of Lagos graciously did call the men who were in a conference together, and I was just told, oh, Lola, don't worry,
But
they would be
the consequences,
sanctioned.
right?
They would make sure that they are punished. Of course, I didn't hear anything after that. And imagine what it is like for the police. If they do not see something really seriously, imagine if they are detained, they are suspended, and it's public, and they are caught. You know, all those things that scare them, a lot of them would desist. Because these days, you would even see police telling you that, what can you do?
Do you know
that
the funny
they
thing?
will record as well as you would record. That all of them have editing
I've
tools.
seen that too. And you know, these police officers, right? I think a lot of Nigerians, you know, would rather just give them something and appreciate them willingly than for them to enforce it on you. Like I said,
And create rules that don't exist.
exactly. And like I said,
on the spot.
but you know, this
understand.
corruption, this bribery that we're talking about, it goes higher up.
Yes.
If these ones, you know, in low levels do not see what their orgas are doing at the top, they will not have the liver or the effrontery to, you know, go to checkpoints and try to...
Allegedly.
But there's
adding to what you
that
said.
actually have quotas.
I was going to say that allegedly that just like every government agency I'm seeing now, you see that allegedly everybody's been given some kind of quota or the other. So whether you like it or not, they have to do everything in their power to make sure that they meet their quotas. So this higher up you are saying, they too probably allegedly might be, you know, getting kickbacks from down to up.
It's become
because the effort they have to charge this. I have seen police, some will sit down blatantly and they will not even know the caliber of people that are in that vehicle, and I'll see them just stretch out their hands. It's not like they even, it's not go to the back of the vehicle. That the earlier years, they say step out, they'll go to the back of the vehicle and you don't see what happens.
So many drivers.
This one.
So many drivers, when they're collecting, you know, monies from their passengers, they always count what they're going to give. They know the number of checkpoints on the road, you know, and they're always counting, all right, so how much am I going to give? So they keep it, you know, one side.
But then the those commercial drivers anyway, most of them, their papers are not complete. They are driving without license. So
They're operating
illegally.
They're operating illegally. So just to avoid the wahala on the road as you're passing, make anybody not just stop you, they go.
But as long as they can get kickbacks, a lot of other things fall. That's how accidents happen. Because some of their cars are totally unmotorable. That you look at it from top to bottom and you're like, how can somebody tell me that this vehicle actually went for MIMOT, I mean, what they call it, and they did certify that this car roadworthiness, that this car is roadworthy.
And there's also a time where, you know, checkpoints were disbanded, and you know, but they didn't stop. It didn't stop them from.
They're more creative. Nigerians are one of the most
creative
people in the world. I've realized, before we quickly go on a break, I've realized that sometimes when you take them unawares by greeting them politely and asking them how their day was, it throws them. So whatever it is, I've encountered that. Whatever it is that they plan to initially set out, say, how is the country treating you? It's not easy everywhere. It's just once you get in front of that narrative, I think it kind of...
It's almost... It destabilizes them.
They're going to say, how far, madam? We go start chop now. Oh yeah, madam, they go.
All right, so guys, so we have heard about the Nigerian Insurance Industry Reform Act 2025, the NIIRA, that was signed by the president on the 5th of August. But do we really understand it? Do we really understand how it affects the everyday Nigerian? We will take a quick time out now, but when we return, Tunji Andrews, the CEO of Awaba, will join us today to unpack this, protecting the public, why insurance must now cover public buildings. Some people really think insurance doesn't have anything to do with them, but we'll get into this discussion after the break.
Well, welcome back to the show. Today we're tackling a legal reform that could be a real game changer. And that's the Nigerian Insurance Industry Reform Act 2025. Signed into law earlier this month on the 5th of August by President Bola Tinubu, this sweeping reform modernizes insurance regulation in Nigeria. One provision in particular stands out. Owners and occupiers of all public buildings, including schools, hospitals, hostels, malls, markets, offices, even tenement housing. That means if it's for renting, must now insure these buildings against risks like collapse and fire, floods, earthquakes, and storms. Failing to comply invites stiff penalties, including fines of at least 1 million naira, or you could go to jail for up to 12 months. Now, NIIRA also has the power to seal risk-prone buildings without valid insurance. So look at this scenario. With Nigeria having recorded over 553 building collapses from 1974 to 2023, many of these leading to tragic loss of life, some say that the federal government imposing this insurance for building is doing too much, while others believe that this law isn't just procedural, it's urgent. Joining us now to help us unpack the law and what it really means for daily safety is Tunji Andrews. He's a Nigerian economist, a financial literary advocate, and an entrepreneur. He's also recognized for his ability to break down complex economics topics and his focus on promoting financial inclusion, particularly for Africa's informal workforce. He is a CEO of Awaba and a broadcaster extraordinaire. Tunji Andrews, welcome to Jasiri.
You need to see. I had my eyes open at some point. I was like, who are they talking about?
You are here to break down this complex thing. Because sometimes these really topical, but these really technical conversations.
Yes. And a lot of Nigerians
need to understand what is the layman English for all of this. What does it mean for us Nigerians?
Yeah.
You know.
So to begin with, I think a lot of people need to get the guidelines once it's fully published, and it's fantastic because it's a. First of all, you need to understand that the last time the insurance industry had reforms was like 2003. So we were more than 2 decades, due for reforms. And, a lot of things have happened in that time. For instance, one of the things that the new law does is that it gives provision for insurtech businesses, which bring insurance to the doorstep of almost everybody.
Okay. Now, before you get into details, I'd like us to let's take a look at what the Act has done. So this Act has repealed and consolidated insurance laws. It has raised capital requirements for insurers. It has introduced mandatory timelines for claims processing, and it has strengthened the enforcement of compulsory insurance nationwide. And it also provides for dedicated protection funds for policyholders, digital transformation of insurance operations, enhanced supervisory powers for the National Insurance Commission, that's NIIRA, and greater participation in regional insurance frameworks like the ECOWAS Brown Card. Nigerians, as we know, see insurance as complicated, or even airlines. So until necessary disasters happen. So let's break this down in the simplest ways possible, because like Buki says, it is a lot of technicality and technicalese. So how to the average Nigerian who's watching now, can you break it down and really dissect it so they can understand how this matter can affect their everyday life?
So basically, insurance's goal is to try and bring your life to the point to which it was before loss. So it's kind of like, it's not supposed to make you better, it's not supposed to make you richer, it's just supposed to make sure that, for instance, if this mug were to break and I had insured it, you get me a mug of the same standard, the same quality, and I'm able to continue my life without any issues. You pay a certain premium, which is a value of the mug, and in real terms, you're able to still continue your life without much disruption. And most of the time, those things that you insure are things that, you can't just break bank again to just buy them. It's not something you can just wake up and buy again. So it's things like houses, your cars, jewelry, things of real high worth to you and are important. And the government is saying, we've seen people lose a lot of these things. We've seen the economy basically stall in different areas because people have lost, factory, people have lost, business places. There's one supermarket in Lekki one
Yeah.
many years ago that burned to the ground.
I think it happened a couple of times.
My heart actually, the first time I saw it, my heart went to bits. But then I thought about it. This person is probably insured. And so to say, you saw the building, they built it somewhere very close and it became bigger and better. And that's what insurance does, really. It just makes sure that your life doesn't ground to a halt when the unforeseen, which we call it unforeseen, happens.
You know, Tunji, let's be honest. You know, in Nigerians are still, I would say that we're still grappling with the understanding of insurance as the need for it.
Yeah.
A lot of people do not even understand the need for it. Before this NIIRA, many compulsory insurances has existed on paper for years. We know that. A lot of people know motor insurance, third party. That's the most favorite that everybody would just do. Yeah. Yet, enforcement has been very weak when it comes to it. So now, Nigeria's insurance penetration remains below 1% of the GDP, compared to over 3%, you know, in a place like South Africa. That's even within Africa. So why should people believe that this NIIRA will be different this time? Is this also going to be, you know, easily accessible to everybody? Nigerians like the talking of, you know, like the market women. Everybody always likes to talk like, oh, this cadre of people, do they have understanding of it? Bikers, you know, daily hustlers, people on the streets, even many rural communities don't even have formal housing documentation. My grandfather's house in the village, I don't even think there's a paper on it. So how do many of these women build their own stores by themselves? Maybe through their cooperatives. So how will these compulsory insurance apply to them?
So, there's many ways to look at it. The first part is that insurance has always existed. And for instance, the third party, it always amazes me, or amuses me really, when I see people on the road, you know, after they've scratched each other, shouting. I mean, both of them have third party insurance, and it's just exchange details and it's sorted. But because of the fact that, you know, we don't use it and we don't stretch it, it does create issues. Now, for the woman who has a store and then has put things into it, now there are two sorts of house or building insurance. You know, there's the homeowner insurance and there's the home holder insurance. Now, the home holder insurance is basically insuring the items within the building. So your television.
That's the landlord.
No, that's the tenant.
Okay.
So the tenant can insure his property or her property within the building. So the TV, the furniture, those things. So in case of fire, anything like that, you get it replaced. Right? Then the homeowner gets to insure the building.
The building.
Right? So there are two different categories of insurance, but they both work hand in hand to ensure that you still continue your life as is if something unforeseen happens. So it is enforceable, and one of the things that NIIRA has done is be able to make sure that the period between filing a claim and actually getting compensated is now shortened, and it's also enforceable.
Is it not just on paper? Like,
No,
is
no.
it for real?
No.
You're saying it's ambiguous.
So I work in the industry.
Okay.
I work in the industry. So I'm in the intersection between pensions and insurance. And I'm pretty much in the area of helping provide health insurance to Nigerians. So I know what enforcement is. I know what timelines are, and I know that it works.
All right, so, you know, we know that this particular NIIRA 2025 was signed recently. I would love for you to, you know, share some key differences between this particular NIIRA 2025 and the earlier Insurance Act of 2023. Why is there a need for this new reform now? Why now?
So to begin with, I mean, the biggest obvious change is that in 2003, there was nothing called fintech, right? It didn't exist. And since the emergence of fintech, we've had a lot of technology businesses providing insurance, but there's not been any particular regulation to be able to regulate them, because it's weird, right? My office is in Lagos. I can provide insurance in Abuja. What ensures that I give the kind of product that I say is on my billing? But now we have regulation for fintech businesses, for people who actually provide the cover and people who distribute. So it's very encompassing. Also, the capital requirements for insurance companies now has been increased, which is really important because think about banking. We increased capital requirements many years ago, and what happened is that it created bigger and better banks. The pension industry has also increased capital requirements. Now we have bigger and better pension companies. What you did see in the pension industry was that those who couldn't raise the capital ended up merging or being sold to bigger ones. So you have stronger institutions. What this will create in the insurance space is that you have bigger, better insurance companies. Those who have just been, in and out, wibbly wobbly, will now become stronger because either they will be sold or they will merge with other players. So it's just creating a better insurance industry for Nigerians. And I'm pretty excited about it, by the way.
Of course, you're in the business. All right, I will take a short break. By the time we return, we'll continue this very important conversation we're having on the new insurance reforms that has just been signed into law.
Welcome back to Jasiri. We're talking about the Nigerian Insurance Industry Reform Act of 2025 that was signed into law on August the 5th, mandating insurance for public buildings, including tenement houses over one floor. We're going to move into the question that I think people are aggravated about. And I think I'll pose two questions. The first one is I'd like you to break down what public buildings means in this act. And the second question, which I think affects millions of Nigerians, is those of us that are still struggling with rising housing and rental costs. When the landlord now will come and say, I have to pay insurance. Now your rent is going to go up. This is just one more tax. That's the way Nigerians are also seeing it as well. How are we going to be able to balance the cost of compliance with the value of protecting lives of Nigerians? But the first one is, please break down buildings, what public buildings means, and then we can move into the second one.
I honestly, when I saw that conversation and I saw it being a thing that people kind of fixated on, I kind of laughed because it basically says every building. Because as long as people go into the building, it is considered under the law. As long as there's more than you as a homeowner going into that building, it is considered covered under this act, right? And generally, because it covers not only the building, it also covers life. Loss of life and injury to people who come in and go out of the building. On the second question, which is, so while building, you need, the developers of the building also need to get insurance for the building. So you insure against loss of life in the period of building. We've seen buildings that were still under construction collapse. So you need to insure for that. Afterwards, you've received your house. You are the homeowner now. You now have to insure the building also.
So the insurance that you pay during building, it
it's just for the purpose of building.
Construction.
So there are insurance that you sorted out that nothing happened to what then happens?
Nothing happens.
It just stays.
Well, so look at it this way. What if something had happened?
But something didn't happen.
No, so that you see that's
the business.
That's the point. So if I look at it from the perspective of I remember when mobile or gadget insurance came into play, and they said you could insure your screen from cracking. And I'm one of those people that don't like pouches on my phone. I totally hate it, right? So you think about it like, if it falls and then it cracks, and then you go to repair it at the Apple shop or wherever you go to, and they tell you the price. You then understand why insurance
You
is.
should have insured it.
And then you ask how much was the insurance, and then they tell you like, no, it was just 12K. And you're like,
Why didn't I do it?
you get. And it's always like that. Or you drive your car, your new fancy, beautiful car, and then something happens, wire touches here, and it, boom. And you're thinking, I should have just paid that 40K.
And they tell you, okay, now that you put it this way, now that Suji has a way of explaining this.
I just want to ask a question, because before this new act was signed into law, there should have been some kind of deliberation. I'm sure it wasn't just the president.
Oh, it was, there was.
So were stakeholders involved
I can guarantee.
in the, the coming to of this act?
So it was not only just that stakeholders were called in, it was that there were multiple types of stakeholders called in. I personally was in the room when they were deliberating the fintech part of it.
Okay.
So we had to have, pushbacks here and there, general conversation. So, the first set of guidelines was like, okay, you need to have a registered office, and we're like, well, fintech, what do you mean by registered office? So we had to go back and forth on that conversation, and it then came to what we now have. So it didn't come as a surprise, that portion of the bill. So it's a situation where everybody in different sectors that have key stakeholders in the insurance industry were called into several rooms to deliberate. So it wasn't you just called a few people and packed everything on them. They broke it down into pieces and said, this is your area, deliberate on it. This is your area, deliberate on it. And several people were called from across. I do know that the room I was in, people from across the country were called in Abuja, Port Harcourt, and we all met in Lagos and had 3 days of conversations.
Yeah. Well, now that we know that the NIIRA, makes it mandatory for public buildings and any construction above, 1 floor to be insured, right? How does this change the game for landlords and tenants? And also, if you could tell us, will there be a special claims tribunal or even a fast-track system to be able to handle disputes between policyholders and insurers under the reform?
So the law does, and it's very important that tenants also pay attention to this, because if your landlord refuses to get it, you are also liable. I mean, the house could be sealed. No, the house could be sealed. So you live in the building. The house could be sealed. There's multiple penalties that could affect you. So you need
what you're
to.
saying? That means that landlords,
people are going to become homeless because Nigerians are slow to act.
And then Nigerians, there's some that say, me fa wahala, and say, let me just pay it. How much is this insurance, so that I know that I can rest.
Do you know how many times
landlords
postings on your gate from maybe tenement? I just take a picture and send it.
But landlords will now begin to defer and just move nicely. That's why we have. That's why we have legal systems, So I look at it from the perspective of you are a tenant, and you know that this particular conversation could also put you in the eyes of the law, right? And then your landlord is wishy-washy, going back and forth, and you have rent to pay. The simple fact is, until you pay me what I have paid for this, and you can't even pay it because it's not your duty to pay.
It's not your duty, exactly.
It's not your, and you have personal liability to cover. So that's why it is your insurance to pay. So you can't even pay on behalf of your landlord, but you can push the landlord to do it. I don't want to create agitation between landlords and tenants, but of course, honestly, you need to be able to.
Because some landlords can be stubborn.
So the great thing about it also is that just like PENCOM, you have whistleblowing, anonymous whistleblowing mechanisms that allow you to be able to escalate to NICOM. I've settled my own part. I have my own in-house, my own home holder insurance, and this guy does, or this lady doesn't want to insure the house. Let's move. And you help out. Because honestly, the truth is, when they come to seal the house, the landlord will not be there to help you. you'll be the one to either get a hotel or go crash with Lolo.
Crash with me.
What do people do? Sorry, so
Exactly.
what do people do? For instance, where there are many landlords that don't live in the country.
Yes.
You know, they either have a caretaker that's looking after the house for them or the buildings, whatnot, and they are half of the time, most of the time, not even reachable.
Yeah.
So what do you do in that instance?
So start engaging. It's important you start engaging now. It's important you start engaging now because it's very critical. What the law also states is that NIIRA, with the help of other law enforcement agencies, can come and seal your house. I expect that in the next month or two, we're going to see a mass sealing of houses. I expect. I expect, you know, and the way it works in Nigeria is always they go on a mass sealing activity, then everybody now realizes they are serious and then they come to, so you don't want your house to be one of those houses, right?
If you're in the house, you cannot come out, they will seal you in.
So it's like they probably put the, if it's anything like what we see in Lagos, they'll just put the padlock and the chain around your gate so you can't go in and out. They'll just tell you to pick your thing as in what you, maybe your phones or something, and you can exit. So you leave all your things inside the house.
This doesn't.
This is like, how much are we looking at?
But again, I need to say this, right?
Yeah.
I need to say this. What Nigeria is doing is not new. It happens in the UK, happens in the US, happens in a lot of developed economies. Now, part of the premium will be directed towards the fire service to help with, you know, issues around protecting your home if there's a fire. It goes into other issues around protecting the houses that we have in the country. I don't want us to look at it from the perspective of this is too much. We want a civilized society. We've always said it, right?
Yes.
We've always said it. We want a better Nigeria, right? We've always said we want a Nigeria that works.
Yeah.
This is how it works.
Tunji, I hear you. I'm going to piggyback on the comment that you just said.
Yeah.
In developed societies.
Yes.
Nigeria.
This is how we develop.
Nigeria functions. I
Yes.
understand.
Yes.
But the way Nigerians function, half the time,
Yeah.
is backward. They walk from back
To front.
I understand that this is important. I understand that ensuring buildings, I mean, look at all the buildings that have collapsed and even buildings that have been razed down by fire in markets, people that have lost millions, lives that have been lost, as I mentioned, in 1974, from 1974 to 2025, over 600 buildings have collapsed, lives have been lost. I understand that it's important. But you see, this matter about, especially when it comes to people that are staying in tenancy agreements, it's a very critical issue.
Yeah.
To breaking down how it really affects us and how we can hold people accountable. It's a very important issue. So it's not to create, you know, doom and gloom of the situation.
Yeah.
That's not the point.
Yeah.
But it's just, let's not make it it's not
light. It's not light. It's not light at
because
all.
it affects us critically.
I want to
talked
pick
about
up on what she
compensations.
talks about, you know, buildings that have tenants. I need clarity on this because there was something I read a while back when the reform came out. I'm not sure if it's true, but is there provisions for landlords, you know, for tax waivers or even tax relief for landlords who, you know, rent out houses less than 1 million naira?
I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to check that. Waivers for houses less than 1 million naira. I guess that will be a tax conversation and maybe not insurance, but I'll need to confirm on that. I'm not entirely sure. But houses less than 1 million naira.
Is there a possibility? Or 10 million naira? No, 10 million naira is quite on the high side.
Yeah, well, 10, yes. 10 is...
Are they not going to look at the
So
cost
one of the
your
things I
property?
do know that the government has consistently, at least this administration has done, has consistently tried to exempt people within that cadre from certain taxes. I wouldn't want to do that generally because I do believe that they're the most exposed. Because there's also issues against flooding. This also covers against flooding.
Right.
And if you look at a lot of the houses that actually get flooded, are usually less than 1 million naira.
Yeah.
So if you exempt them, what are we doing?
Okay, hold that thought, Tunji. We'll be right back. We have to go on a quick break. When we return on the home stretch of Jasiri, we'll explore enforcement, how NICOM is empowered now, and what are the ways forward, what citizens can do, and how this compares to other countries, because actually he has started that conversation already, Tunji. So don't go anywhere, we'll be right back.
Welcome back to the show. We're still analyzing the Nigerian Insurance Industry Reform Act, that is NIRA 2025, with Tunji Andrews. I'll say NIIRA gives NICOM, those are the two laws, on this particular matter, the power to seal off public buildings without insurance and impose penalties. But in practice, will regulators push through? Or are we going to, this enforcement issue is still going to remain weak? I wonder about some other countries like maybe Ghana, South Africa, where mandatory building insurance is vigorously enforced. What can we learn from them? Because this is not the first time, at least this is not like something that has never been seen before. Mm-hmm. This is a law that has worked in other places. Even the example we gave is still within Africa, the West and the South. So do you think that with this new law, we're going to see better enforcement, or it's just going to be like, in Nigeria, if you know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, the rules don't apply?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. It's one that I hold serious hope for. I mean, we are focused on the building insurance, which of course is just one small part of the big act. I'm really excited about the full act itself, and we'll start seeing things happen in the next few months to a year. I expect to see bigger and better insurance companies emerge from this act, because I expect to see mergers, acquisitions happen. I expect to see recapitalization. The Nigerian Stock Exchange reacted very positively to it, to the act being passed, basically being excited with the fact that we're going to see bigger insurance companies. It's actually abnormal to have insurance companies that can't insure certain assets in your country. Mm-hmm. There are certain things in Nigeria that you just can't, okay, so think about like a Dangote refinery, for instance. Yeah. It would take a few insurance companies to come together to insure it, know, and which shouldn't be. Yeah. Which shouldn't be. You really want to be able to have robust insurance companies, and I know that insurance providers are excited by this, because also it gives them the ability to raise more capital, to become bigger, better, deploy more resources to be able to cover the entire country. But then it also gives ability for tech businesses who are doing fantastic things. So for instance, there's an tech business, two actually, that I know that, your comprehensive insurance is covered between point A and point B. Yeah. So you start your car, you drive, and it starts to cover, and when you park, the cover stops. Wow. It's fantastic. So you want that kind of innovation being deployed. And what I expect to see happen is that we might see people pay month and month for their home insurance. Mm-hmm. The regulator is open to that, as long as insurance providers can provide a framework for this. So yeah, I'm just really excited about the new law.
But really, seriously, this is off the cuff. How expensive is insurance? We talk about it as if it's easy, month-to-month insurance, daily insurance. Mm-hmm. How?
So, for instance, I think the house insurance is 0.25 of the value of the property. I need to confirm that, but you go as high as, I think, 5% for some things. I think car is 5% or something. That's comprehensive. Forgive. Yeah. You need to explain. And the general idea is that in the case of loss, they give you a vehicle for paying 5% of the value of the car. Now, of course, if you don't, nothing happens to the car, your insurance goes. So that's something we need to think about again. But insurance is not expensive compared to the alternative.
Okay, so if you look at it that way.
Yeah.
Compared to the alternative.
All right.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, I don't know if this is a very serious question, but it might also affect obviously affect us, and comes back to, again, for public buildings, or building insurance specifically. You know how the CAC would list out companies that are registered, they have, their legalities are up, are up to date. Do you think that this is something that we're also going to see with NIIRA as well, to say, okay, these buildings in this area, in these areas have been insured, so that you know that your building is not one of those that are insured and you can start facing your...
I expect so. I think one of the ways to make this more useful would be to draw out a list, so that if I'm, for instance, if I'm trying to home hunt and I'm looking to rent property, I can, pick from a list of homes, or maybe I found the house. I just want to check it against the database to know that at least this landlord is, because it's not only the landlord that needs to check the tenant also needs to check that the landlord has sense. So the thought around it really is that if for it to be, it doesn't just need to be a law in the essence of it. It needs to be in practice. Yeah. I need to feel comfortable, being in that house. So I know that when I'm in this house, I am protected in some way. So it's critical. I hope that is the plan, but we don't have a framework for it yet, because of course the law is still new.
So for tenants who have found themselves at the wrong end of the stick with the law, what recourse do they have, or does the law?
What recourse are they going to have? Sorry, because we are going to run out of time very quickly. Please add to that as well. When are we likely to start seeing enforcement of the laws?
I expect within the next 30 days. I really do expect.
Not next year.
So let me explain this. Right? You need to understand something, and it's a different president. Maybe it will take time. This president is known for work around tax generation, revenue generation. He's very big on it. He's always been big on it, right? So if I'm to look at who he is, and I'm to look at what he expects from whoever is a champion in this cause, I expect enforcement very, very shortly.
All right, so if this happens, like if we can successfully do this, looking at the next 5 years, how different will Nigeria look? I mean, in terms of all these building safety and all of that.
Have you gone to check houses recently? I'm telling you, the houses out there are a mess. I mean, you can literally see some beams bent. Just by looking at it, you don't even have to be an architect or somebody would.
We have a symmetrical problem in Nigeria. we have a thing against line, straight line in Nigeria.
If that is bent, imagine what else is bent that you can't see. Just think about it.
I do.
So the kind of thinking is that we want the very best in terms of expertise, in terms of practices to go into our building culture in Nigeria. And this is one of the things that will put you in the right direction.
But do you see this extending to other sectors?
Oh my God, it's gone.
Sectors, education, health, other sectors, if this whole overhaul, do you think that can happen?
I think so, generally. I think health is one part that I wish the law had made mandatory was health insurance.
Yeah.
I think health insurance has a big gap in Nigeria, and it just is depending on the energy of the providers to drive it. But really, because of the kind of population we have, we need to make it, mandatory and enforceable so that everybody is covered under some kind of health insurance.
I'm not going to hold on that.
Well, sadly, this is where we will be wrapping up the conversation. But thank you so much, Tunji, for your time and for a very enlightening talk.
Yeah.
We really learned a lot.
Making insurance palatable.
Very interesting.
Palatable indeed.
Well, yes, indeed. Well, that's it for today. Thank you so much for staying tuned, and we will be back tomorrow again, same time, same station. It's bye for now.